Okay. Hi, Patty.
Hi. Hi.
How you doing?
Oh, it's another day in paradise. Thanks. How are you?
Good, good. You're about to die. Let's see if we can put it on the TV. All right, can you hear me?
I can. Can you
Okay,
hear
awesome.
me?
Yes. All right, we've got the Sam Marvelous team here. We have, what happened? Your computer died already?
No, this is just really finicky. This happens all the time during my interviews, which is really fun. There we go.
Okay. So you are here in front of our key staff. We've got Corey Beth. So I want you guys, this is going to be a little weird. I want you guys all to come over here. You're going to come and say hi, show a little respect to some greatness. Can you angle the computer thing? You know, like, all crazy about it. All right, cool. So we got Benji. Hello.
Hi.
Benji's been with us for a while. He is comes from a long line of Almeidas. If you remember the name Anna Almeida, that's his brother. Then we've got Corey Beth right over here. She's
Hi,
going
Corey.
to be branching this summer. Then we got Cooper. He's only working with us for about a couple months, but has been doing awesome. We got Ethan Aguilar. Ethan is also going to be running a branch this summer. Then we've got Kalen. He just started here about a month ago and is almost a 10K. And then we've got Greg. He has been working here for, he just started last Saturday, but he's doing awesome. So I wanted to invite him to kind of a little bit more of an advanced meeting to kind of start learning. All right, you guys can have a seat. All right, so Patty James is a wonderful friend of mine. She's been working with Cutco for, I'm going to guess, I don't know, at least 1 year. She probably
At
started
least.
about, I'm going to guess 12.
Oh, geez, Damien. Way back. I think I might have started before you.
Very possible.
So,
And Patty was a Hall of Fame manager in the Rising Sun division. No, not Rising Sun. Yeah,
Rocky
Rocky Mountain,
Mountain.
Rocky Mountain. But like the southernmost tip there in the Albuquerque area, and did a wonderful job of developing a ton of incredible managers, and throughout the way was very knowledgeable in the financial sector. And so once she moved on from the director of marketing district manager position, she hit Hall of Fame. She accomplished her goals that she had here, and she started working for a company called Rising Stock Inc., where she does financial advising, specifically working with a lot of vector district managers. So not only does she add value here to our team, but she also works with current managers. I have a coaching call with her tomorrow. And so I do a lot of managers on a weekly basis, monthly basis. So she is going to be spending some time today going over just some fundamentals of the finance world. If you have no idea how to spell finance, this is a good meeting. If you're very well versed, well, take some notes, and maybe she'll give a few minutes of time. So Patty, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. And we have a couple people that are joining us on Zoom, but they're legit. This is Ben Mihalik and Colin, both of us high level people in my office. So you only got the best of the best. So anyways, thank you so much for your time, and without further ado, Patty James.
All right, thank you. Hello, champs. Excited to be chatting with you and giving you hopefully a few great tools today. Obviously, you guys all should know that you have a great district manager, one of the best of the best. A lot of times when I talk to people in different regions and offices, they're like, oh, I got to find out what Damien's doing in his office. And so he has talked about quite a bit. So you are learning from one of the best in the entire company. So if you haven't for a while, make sure to give him a high five and say thank you for all the time he puts into you. So in true nerd fashion, I have a PowerPoint. So do I have the power to share my screen?
I think you
I got the
should.
power.
Yeah.
Nope, I got to send a request. Request has been sent. So the first thing I will just tell you, I'm gonna go through a few things here. Um, let's see. Let's see. Oh, okay. I've got the power now. I feel it. All right. Thank you. So y'all can see my PowerPoint financial fundamentals. Just give me a thumbs up.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So, by the way, this is my family. We got Mark and Scarlett, which they're in the other room, so they may pop on to say hi a couple times, just to FYI. And then my husband, who is currently deployed, so I am wearing the single mom role, loud and proud. But it's all good. But anyway, so today I'm just going to cover some keys for financial fundamentals. And like Damien said, you might get a lot out of this and take tons of notes and be like, oh my gosh, that's fine. If you get one nugget and you can roll with it, like I'm excited about it. So let's continue. And the first thing that I have to just say is that your finances are very similar to a puzzle, right? So if you think about like trying to put together, how many of you, just by show of hands, have ever put together like a 500 to 1,000 piece puzzle, like a large puzzle, right? Okay, perfect. And like sometimes, especially when you get to that dark area, you have to like look at the box cover, right? Because you're like, what the heck does this go to? Well, that's like your financial world is you have to have a box cover or a vision of what you want to create, or there's no intentionality. And so a lot of people, by the way, this is hashtag skills for life, right? That's what you're learning here at Vector. Um, but a lot of people go through life without a box top to refer to. So they're just kind of spending their money. And this is why most people, the majority of the United States is in the spot that they're in. And we're going to be talking about stats like that. It's because they do not have a vision of where they want to be and where they want to get to. So one of the things that I would just do on a regular basis, and I'm going to be giving you a tip here a little bit later, is to think about where would I like to be financially 5 years from now, right? Or a year from now. And then you work backwards and think, okay, well, if I want to have X amount of money saved, what does that mean that I need to make, right? And when you break it down backwards, and if you're not sure how to do this, you can most certainly sit down with Damien, and he would be more than happy to help you out with this. But having that vision, and so that way you can be intentional with your money, is really important. Because most people are just like, oh, I'm just gonna, spend my money and enjoy it. So I'm going to give you a couple of steps here. And the first step is in order to be able to make this puzzle a reality, the first step is you have to examine your previous beliefs about money. Because here's the thing is that we all have money beliefs, and I just want you to sit here and think about it for a second. Like, what are some money beliefs that you heard or maybe came to conclusion growing up? It could be like maybe you heard like, oh, money doesn't grow on trees, or maybe it's like you got to find the best deal on everything before you can buy it, or maybe it's like you're not allowed to spend money unless you are do X, Y, or Z. Maybe it's rich people are evil, right? Like examining these money beliefs is really important because your core beliefs will influence your behavior. And so sometimes people are stuck in a cycle of like either not spending any money or spending all their money based off of some core beliefs. So like some people, for example, that I've coached, they grew up in scarcity. So whenever they get money, they just want to blow it all. They're like, oh, I get to buy all the things I never got to buy before. But they don't realize that that's an underlying belief that like, oh, I gotta spend it before it gets out of my bank account somehow. And so it's this scarcity mode. And so when you start examining these core beliefs around money, success, and wealth, you're able to attack the crabs in the bucket. How many of you are familiar with the crabs in the bucket analogy, just by show of hands? Nobody? Okay. So here's the thing, is if you put one crab in a bucket, it will just crawl out. But if you put two or more crabs in a bucket, one will try to crawl out and the others will pull it back in. And so none of them will get out. So what are some beliefs that you have that are pulling you back down to where you want to, where you are trying to get to, but you keep holding yourself back, right? These are self-sabotaging behaviors. And I've seen it a lot in finances, and it is not great. So, some hints about self-sabotaging or the crabs in the bucket are, are you growing your business? Or are you saying like, oh, I don't need to earn more money, or I'm comfortable, or, maybe, you're just not hitting that next level. Well, that could be an indication that you have some underlying belief that you haven't quite identified yet. And I'm going to give you a great book that you can read to help you also with this. So, but there's 4 stages of financial development. I'm not going to talk about these a whole lot, but man, sorry, the formatting's all messed up. But the first step is survival, and this is like paycheck to paycheck, right? Just like just trying to, oh, this is awful. I am so sorry. Well, we're going to roll with it. So next we have is stability, we have success, and significance. Okay, so these are like the rungs on a financial ladder. So we got survival. This is paycheck to paycheck. This is probably about 80% of the US, unfortunately. Then you have stability. This is like somebody who's able to pay their bills on time, but they have a little bit saved and they are feeling okay. But usually, if like something comes up, they're knocked right back down to survival pretty easily. Success is where somebody feels good. They're able to save money, have a good handle on their finances. They're growing, they're learning, and significance is you feel so well set that not only are you're set up yourself and you have systems in place, but you're able to give back to others, either through time, financial donations, like you're able to give back confidently because you're super set up. And of course, we all want to be in the significant phase. So from survival to stability, it's really about a change in habits. And that's what we're going to be focusing on today is the main habits to make sure, because by the way, this is not like a one and done thing. You don't get to significance and stay there forever. I've met people who were at success, went back down to survival, got back up to significance, went down. And it's all about maintaining some of these things. So first is a change in habits. The next one, from stability to success, is a change in mindset. And the third one, success to significance, is a change in priority. So I mentioned to you earlier that I would talk about the state of the American people, and I'm pretty sure most of you already know that like 80% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. And this is like, they get a paycheck and they're like, oh, when is my next one? And I will tell you, it doesn't matter how much somebody is making. I've met people who are earning 6 figures living paycheck to paycheck. And so it's all about habits and a mindset. And we're going to be talking about that here in a second. And the other reason that we know this is because 1 in 3 Americans have 0 saved for retirement. Actually, it's more than that, because if you look, it says 33% have no retirement savings, and then 23% have less than 10K. Now, I'm a Mac customer, and I coach a lot of other Mac customers, or HM3s, whatever you call them. And I'll tell you that the average household will spend anywhere from 6 to 10 grand a month on monthly expenses. So if somebody has less than 10K, that means that they are retired for about a month before they have to start working again. So really, it's like 56% of Americans don't have anything saved for retirement. And why is this? Well, it's a lack of that vision I was talking about earlier. There wasn't any intention. But secondly, it's probably a big lack of establishing great habits. So let's talk about some great habits, especially with the new year. We want to make sure to build that financial muscle. Okay, so building the financial muscle is really important. And just like if you want to build muscle on your body, you got to be consistent about it and then constantly level it up. So one of the big habits that I'm going to give you that I have heard over the course of many years that I've been talking about this has changed people's lives. And it's a very simple habit. But it is a very impactful one. Just like lifting weights is not complicated, but if you do it long enough and consistently enough with knowledge, you'll be able to build muscle. And this is something called a meeting with money. So how many of you would say that after you have a PC with Damien, you feel more clear, better, like about your business, just by show of hands, right? Because some of you are like, I guess. No, of course, yes. After you have a PC with Damien, you're like, okay, I'm ready to go. I got a plan. Well, your meeting with money is your PC with money. It's a half-hour time slot, at least once a month, even better, twice a month, best, once a week. Okay? And this is just where you're sitting down and figuring out what do you want to do with your money. Okay? So a lot of people, when I first mentioned this, would be like, oh, that sounds like a great idea. And then they would go try to do it. And they would come back to me on our next coaching call and they'd be like, So Patty, I went to sit down with my meeting with money. What do I do though? And so I came up with some questions, right? And you can take a screenshot of this or whatever. I'll run through them really fast, but it's like, so that this would be ideal on like a Friday or Saturday or something where you're like, okay, how much did I make this past week? And what are my bills within the next 2 weeks? So knowing what bills are coming up will help you dictate, okay, so I just made a $300 paycheck and I have $200 worth of bills coming up. Okay, perfect. So I got enough to pay that and I have $100 left over. So three is if I have excess, where do I put that? And so some of you might say, well, I want to have X amount padded in my account. Some of you have no idea. You're like, oh, that's a great idea. Maybe I should have some extra padding in my account. So that's a good thing to kind of decipher and make a decision on. I only want, but some of you are like, man, if there's money in my account, it's getting spent on something. So you might want to be like, okay, I only want like $25 in my account at all times. So if I have any extra money, it's going to go to blank. So number four is how much did I spend on my trouble area? Okay. So some real talk here. We all have a trouble area, right? Some of you it's Chick-fil-A. Some of you it's the coffee shop. Some of you it's Amazon. How many of you would say I named your trouble area at least so far once? Some of you it's dining out. Some of you it's the bar, right? Whatever it might be. What is your trouble area where you might spend a little bit too much money, right? So picking a goal of like, okay, I want to continue to buy Chick-fil-A, but let's pick a goal of how much I would like to spend per week and per month. What seems like reasonable? A lot of times when I'm reviewing somebody's P&L with them, which is a profit and loss statement, we look at every expense. And I will tell you, like, I'm talking anywhere from 23 to 40 plus year olds. And I'll be like, how much do you think you spent on dining out? And they'll give me a number and we'll look at what the numbers say. And oftentimes there's the jaw drop of like, what? I spend that much? It's usually twice as much as what they estimated in their mind. So being able to look at that and calculate that and be like, oh, all right, numbers don't lie. What's my goal? And then how much do I want to make next week? One of the things I love, I've been working with Cutco for a long, some of you before you were born, okay, and for a long time. And one of the reasons I love this job and the representative position is because it's like a science, right? So you can really say, all right, and this is how I'd break it down with my reps. Like if I want to make $1,700 this month, based at 30%, I need to sell 5,800. That's 1,400 sales a week based off of my average. I need to do 7 appointments. For my averages when I did calls, that would be about 70 calls. And then I would plug it in my schedule because it took me about 10 calls per one demo. If you don't know those averages, you get to tracking. And then you can actually plan out like, okay, if I want to do 7 appointments this week, I need to make 70 phone calls. Probably not going to do that all in one sitting. So I'm going to probably break it up over 3.5 phone times or whatever it might be. But this is really like a science, especially once you get to know your averages and you can really plan that out. By the way, these are the same numbers at 50%. That's just fun to look at, right? Like, side by side. 7 demos, you'd make 1,700, but making the same amount at 50% is 29. That's like 3,000. It's pretty sweet. All right. So anyway, so the next key to this though, is getting clear on your expenses, right? So that second key to meeting with money is what are your bills in the next 2 weeks? A lot of people have no idea. Like, oh, so you want to get clear on your expenses by tracking them. So like I just made a budget example here of like a due date, your bill, what the amount is, like variable expenses, which is like dining out, groceries, whatever your trouble area is, wish list things, right? But like tracking your expenses in chronological order is very helpful. So this is like one meeting with money, like 30 minutes you can spend just putting this together. So that way you're really clear on your expenses and when they're due. So here's just another example of the way that you put it together. For those of you who are branch managers or going to be, one of the things Damien will talk to you about, or I'll probably text you, is say, hey, you should sign up for Rising Stock because we track all of your expenses over the course of the summer for your business and personal, and this will make doing taxes a dream. So we'll be talking about that a little bit later. But after you basically talk about how much do you want to make next week, one of the other things you can do in the meeting with money is kind of look at how much I could save, right? So there's a really cool calculator called the Latte Factor. It's a book where you can type in like, oh, I spend my money on lattes, $5. But instead of spending this $5 daily on a latte, if I invested it at 7%, here's what it would turn into. And some of you might look at this number and be like, whoa, like this, for the example, it's $389,000 that it would turn into over the course of 40 years. And if you just made a, coffee at home instead of that. And so you can put like Audible, you could put, Spotify, whatever it is that might be a trouble area. All right. So the next key to really doing this, to creating these habits, is to automate savings. So yes, we want to cut expenses, we want to be aware of expenses, but also saving is an important aspect too, right? And I'm going to give you one specific thing that you want to save for a little bit later, but I found when you automate it and take the emotion out, it makes life so much better. Because whether you make $100 paycheck or $1,000 paycheck or a $10,000 paycheck, if it's automated, like you don't have to think about it and it just takes it out. So like 10% of every paycheck should be getting saved at least so you can pay yourself first. Okay. Step 3 to getting to the next level, wherever you're at really in your financial game, is to learn. The more you learn, the more you earn. So be a student. And I know some of you are actual students, like at a university, but you want to be a life student, right? And you want to be a life student because you want to invest in yourself. And that's what you're doing right now. So kudos to all of you guys here, because you're investing in yourself by listening to this message, by coming to meetings like this. But if Damien ever says like, hey, there's this really cool meeting, you're in banquet net, if he talks to you about a meeting to go to, listen to him, because that's investing in yourself. Because after you go to these meetings, your averages are going to increase, and also so will your income. And so how many of you have noticed that you went to a meeting, you learned some nugget, and you got like a higher closing, higher average order, higher recommendations? How many of you ever had that happen to you before? Yeah, everybody's like, yeah, I know. Yes. So investing in yourself, not only in Cutco meetings, but also in reading for money. So I have a lot of book recommendations, but these are the 3 I would start with if you were like, I probably could up my financial game. The first one's The Wealthy Barber. And this just talks about how consistent investing, and I will talk to you about how to invest. I'm going to give you a key about that, can make you very wealthy, and even on a barber's salary. The second one is The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. And The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, this is about how to identify those crabs that are pulling you back in the bucket and how to get rid of those other crabs. And then Money Honey is actually written by a all-American Cutco alum. And it's a very funny, fun book to read. There's a lot of F-bombs in there, so it makes it interesting to read. So, by the way, if you don't already have Spotify, a lot of these books now, I love the fact that there's audiobooks on Spotify. If you don't have Spotify and you don't want to pay for Audible, which I wouldn't recommend, there's 2 apps where you can get books for free. Yes, my favorite 4-letter F word, free. They're called Libby and Hoopla. Libby and Hoopla. Now you do need a library card, and I know that's like sounds like an ancient sentence, right? Like Blockbuster Video. Some of you don't even know what that is, but you need a library card. So what you do is you go to the library, you get a library card. It will take like 5 minutes. And then what you do is you connect it to these, and you can get 6 borrows a month for free from each app. So you can borrow up to 12 books a month for free, which I know many of you aren't going to do because you have homework and school, but it's just really cool. So stop wasting your money on Audible if you are, and download Libby or Hoopla for free. Okay, so step 4 is to dream. So I want you to start dreaming about, where do I want my financial life to look like in 10 years or in, 30 years or 60 years? What do I want to look like when I retire? What age do I want to retire at? And I know those are some weird questions, especially for some of you who are like, I have a lifetime before retiring. And that might be true, but answering those questions now will help you be intentional with your money now. Because I'll tell you what, time is on your side. There's this awesome thing called compounding interest. And the younger you start investing your money, the more it grows for you and the more it will grow into a massive amount. So, what do you need to take action on? Well, here's a couple of things I'm going to suggest that you take action on. One, start journaling about some income goals, either income goals, savings goals, all things financial, and share them with Damien. And he can help you work backwards to make these things a reality. Second thing I'd recommend taking action on, if you aren't already saving for taxes, I'd highly recommend saving at least 10% of every single one of your paychecks. Again, make this automatic through one of the apps. I like Capital with a Q, because you could do things based off of, like, you can make a rule like every direct deposit I have over, $250, save 10% of it automatically, and it will go into the separate account. But I also like Capital because you can set separate accounts. So other than tax, the second thing I'd highly recommend is an emergency fund. How many of you have heard of this concept of an emergency fund? Okay, for most of you, like if you just had $1,000 emergency fund, you'll be fine. Like that would be the goal. Fill that up, have an emergency fund. This is like, if you need a new set of tires for whatever reason, all of your tires blew out at once, you got that covered. If, things come up, life happens, and it's nice to have extra money so you're not stressed. Because I'll tell you, doing demos, when you're stressed and you need to make money, you just chase away the CPO. You know what I'm talking about? So, but when you show up for the customer, that's when the CPO comes to you. So one, I would recommend making sure that you're saving for taxes. Two, set up an emergency fund. Once you have those two things going, the next thing I'd highly recommend that you guys start investing into as soon as possible is a Roth IRA. How many of you are familiar with a Roth IRA? By show of hands. Oh, good. Okay, fantastic. This is one of the best investments that you can make for yourself, especially now. The sooner, the better. Because a Roth IRA, the government only allows you to put in $7,000 a year. Now, you don't have to put in $1,000. You can put in $300 and call it good. But they limit it because this is such a great tool to build wealth that if everybody can invest as much as they want, they would be putting a lot of money in these Roth IRAs. And the government doesn't want you to do that because this money, you put money into it and you pay taxes on it going in. So you're paying taxes on it just like your normal income. And it grows and 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 grows. And you have this huge amount. And when you go to take it out for retirement, you don't pay zero tax on it. Zero. So it's just all your money. It is phenomenal. It is fantastic. So what you can actually do once you're over, I believe it's $15,000 in career sales, you can actually set this up through Cutco and it will come out of your paycheck as a percentage. So you can set it up just like if you are an assistant manager and you have a withholding, you can set up a Roth IRA. And you can ask Damien how to do that, but I have Stephanie Stevens' email address on there. And so you could do 1% of every paycheck or something, but that will just get you started. And the Roth IRA, I will tell you, if you're a nerd like me and you just want to see, is this thing really cool? Go and just Google Roth IRA calculator and start messing around with it, and you'll see how much that money will turn into. I see Ben is already looking it up. He's like, okay, I'm gonna look this up. Well, yes. So that's what I have for you guys. I hope that a couple of these tips were really helpful. Here's my phone number. Don't call me, text me. I respond to that much better. I'm also on the Instagram, and it's Coach with Patti, so you can be able to reach out to me with any questions. But I hope that you were able to get, just a few tips there. So I'll be able to stay on. They're still very interested in Danny Go, so I'm available for a few questions if you guys have any.
What number?
I didn't get the.
I got it.
Oh, yeah, I took a picture. Here, I got some.
Anybody got any questions?
Taxes
Yeah, what are classified as business expenses?
Did you
What
hear
are
that?
classified as business expenses? Is that what you said?
Yes.
So um, there are a lot of business expenses that are classified. Like so, basically, your cell phone, any food that you buy for are you guys doing in-person demos, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you do virtual demos too?
Yes.
Yeah. So technically, like you could uh, it's helpful to have an accountant or CPA, but I will tell you what some people do. What some of the people who I work with do. If they buy a new computer, they would write off all or part of it, because it's technically for work. Most people write all or part of their cell phone bill off. Any food for demos, any conferences. When you're driving, obviously to your appointments, all that mileage counts. If you're not currently actively writing down your mileage, there's apps to track that, and there's Mileage IQ. I know a lot of CSPs use that. And then, or you can go through because basically, when you go to file your taxes, if you go to an accountant or TurboTax, it will ask how many miles you put on for your car for the job, and you could round. But if you ever were to get audited, basically what an audit is they're like, show me this, show me the receipts, show me where this is at, and so like having it tracked somewhere. So like if you use Google Calendar, you probably have the addresses in there, so you could be able to easily calculate the mileage between home and wherever. So
Essentially, you
uh,
have to collect the receipts for every one of those purchases because of, being audited, being a thing.
Yeah, so great question. So yes, you do want to keep the receipts, and you can keep it one of two ways, or both. One, you can do the Ziploc bag. You go to the dollar store, get like a big thing of Ziploc bags, and you label them per month, and then all the receipts that you spend that could be business deductible. So if you do go for business lunch, right, you're supposed like how you're supposed to write it off is you have to technically pay for somebody else or something for somebody else, but you put the receipts in the bag. Or there is an app called Expensify, which is IRS approved, and it's my favorite four-letter F word, free. And you scan the receipt, and it uploads to the universe of uploads, and then and then you can be able to look it up through there, and be able to provide that. Some people like to keep both because they're paranoid, but yeah. So really, like anything that you could consider and actively argue, like I spent this on my business. Business clothes, however, are not a business deduction, no matter how you wanna frame it. So some of you are like, oh man, but something else some people will do is, and this depends on your accountant and your CPA if you work with somebody, but if you get like a magnet for the side of your car, there's Scarlett. If you get a magnet for the side of your car, some people will be able to deduct a portion of their car expenses, like payments, because you're advertising, using it as an advertisement. So, but that's a far-reaching one. You want to have whenever you get audited, it's helpful to have like a CPA backing you in your corner, or like somebody who knows like the tax code. So, but I've known people who've done it. So that's all I'll say about that. Any other questions? Is this still being recorded? Oh man, that's uh, well, we'll keep it. Yeah, so don't send this to any government officials. They're like, she told you what? Any other questions? What's the app again? Expensify.
I also
I
use
talked about it.
Genius. It's free.
You use what?
Genius Scan. Genius Scan.
Genius Scan. I haven't heard of that one. Thanks for the update. Now the Expensify is IRS approved. Do you know if Genius Scan is?
I'll search that up right now.
I'm looking it up.
Okay.
Genius Scan. I'm always interested in what else is out there. So Genius. Oh, so it's like it like scans anything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I see. So Expensify is just specific for receipts, but this is fine too. Yeah, Expensify is free as well, but yeah, I think this is fine. Expensify is helpful. I don't know if this has it where it will have like different folders that you can put your receipts in. Um, okay, perfect. Yeah, if it works for you, like all that matters is that you're organized, especially when tax time comes and you can be able to add things up if you're not doing that. The once a month meeting with money, if you do it 4 times a month, like 1 time a month, like covering all your tax, like having all your expenses for write-offs for taxes is definitely helpful. So anyway, any other questions, comments,
So I had a
concerns?
question.
Yes, Ben.
So I know you mentioned the Roth IRA. As far as being young and like wanting to invest in things, is that what you'd recommend? Just like pouring all of like, because I have quite a bit of money set aside right now that I've been trying to figure out where to put it. Do you recommend just filling the IRA as much as I can?
Yes, yep. If you can max it out at 7K, like you will be so happy later.
Gotcha.
Yes. So this is so however, let me take that back.
Yeah.
Let me take that back. I take my words back. So the first thing I would say is if you have your if you do not already have an emergency fund, that would be top priority.
Gotcha.
After
Okay.
the emergency fund, then I'd make sure that you have money for taxes, right? You can estimate what you owe for taxes, basically how much you made last year. You multiply it by
Mm-hmm.
10 to 15%, and that's what you'll owe. And then the extra money would go into the Roth IRA. So,
Gotcha.
yeah. So one of the things that I've heard from parents, and these are parents who don't really have a whole lot of financial knowledge just because they were never taught, is like, oh, you don't want to invest into a Roth because you're going to need that money well before you're going to use it when you're
Mm-hmm.
retired. But the thing is that two things about that. Well, one, again, most people are in the spot that they're in with that type of thinking, right? Where they're not ever going to retire because they're living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
Second is when you put money into a Roth IRA and it grows that interest, you can always take out the principal without any penalty.
Oh wow.
So as long as you
Okay.
touch the interest. So if you take out the oh my gosh, interest before its due date, which is like when you're 63 and a half,
Mm,
if you take it out, then you have to pay a penalty. But if you only take out the principal and you don't touch the
gotcha.
interest, then you don't pay any penalty. You just
Would
kind of get your
you
money back.
would you recommend at all like putting a portion into like other investments like stocks or CDs or anything like that?
No, because a Roth, what you're doing is you're putting money into like it's essentially like a money market, which is like
Mm-hmm.
a combination of stocks and CDs and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
all those things,
Okay,
and
gotcha.
you're just growing it interest free. Whereas if
Gotcha.
you put it directly into a stock, you're growing your money, but you're going to have to pay tax on all that growth. In a
Gotcha.
Roth, you get out of that tax
Okay.
liability, which is
Okay, cool.
fantastic. Yeah. So, but but you know, like putting money into a stock is helpful if you're like, I don't know what to do with this money. I'm going to need it in the next like year or
Mm-hmm.
two, but I want to make some money off of it. Then yeah, go ahead and
Yeah.
throw it in like a
Short-term
stock or
investment.
exactly. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Something a little bit more risky.
Okay,
Yeah, these are
thank you.
great questions. Yeah, of course. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it was a pleasure chatting with you. I hope that you got a couple of good nuggets. And again, if you have any questions or you know would like follow up about anything, go ahead and find me on the gram, text me. And it was great chatting with you guys. So have a fantastic rest of the night. Thanks.
Thank you, Patty.
Thank you so
Yeah, of
much.
course. Yeah.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
All right, let's go ahead and stop the recording.
So hard.